We want to break in to take you now to Ventura, California, where Governor Jerry Brown and officials there are speaking about touring wildfire damage. Let's listen in.
But we continue to make progress. The Lilac Fire in San Diego that also started this morning is 4,100 acres and 20% contained. The Creek Fire in Los Angeles County by Sylmar is 15,619 acres, 80% contained. The Rye Fire there by Magic Mountain, 6,049 acres and 65% contained. And the Liberty Fire in Riverside County, 300 acres, 90% contained. And the Skirball Fire in Los Angeles, in the city of Los Angeles near Brentwood, is 475 acres and 50% contained. So we're very pleased to start seeing these numbers come up. Firefighters are taking advantages of breaks in the wind and the weather to aggressively put in control lines, use aircraft, and put in retardant and drop water in support of the firefighters on the ground. But what we need to make clear is the winds are variable. They will continue to be strong and dry well through tomorrow, and even into next week we will have dry conditions across the Southland. So we need to continue to keep our guard up. It's December, and it's amazing to be able to say that we aren't out of fire season, and this is the challenge that we face in California, and certainly here in Southern California, that it is a year-round challenge that we are all in. So with that, I would like to introduce the Governor of California, our Governor, Governor Brown.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank all the firefighters from nearby and from further away doing a great job. I want to thank the National Guard, the public safety people that are here, as well as the Conservation Corps and the firefighters from the Department of Corrections. This is truly a joint effort on the part of a lot of people, and of course everybody here that lives in this part of California. You're doing a good job too, and it's been a terrible tragedy for so many people. So this is kind of the new normal. I was just looking at my cell phone before I talked, looking at the humidity. It's 8% in Los Angeles. I don't suppose it's much different right here. That's very, very low. And so we're facing a new reality in the state where fires threaten people's lives, their property, their neighborhoods, and of course, billions and billions of dollars. So we have to have the resources to combat the fires, and we have to also invest in managing vegetation and forests and all the way we dwell in this very wonderful place, but a place that's getting hotter. And we know from the changing in the climate that it's going to exacerbate everything else. From history, going back a long, long way, there have been very long droughts in California. We are getting some of those returning very bad, and we're going to get them returning more often. And then with climate change, some scientists are saying Southern California is literally burning up. And burning up as maybe a metaphor or a description, not just of the fire right here, but what we can expect over the next years and decades. And that's why we have to respond, but we have to plan what we can do in the forests and the neighborhoods. And we also have to do the larger challenge, which is climate change itself. And I know that's maybe a little remote, but it's real. And we're experiencing what it's going to look like on a very regular basis. So I'm also doing everything I can there. And of course, that requires not just the people in Ventura or Santa Barbara or Los Angeles or San Diego. It requires people everywhere in the whole world. So we have to pull together in the largest sense possible and take the heroic action that we need to make our communities livable now and into the distant future. Thank you. I think we can take some questions if you have any.
Governor, what struck you today when you were traveling around speaking with people? What was the common theme, sir?
Well, one obvious theme is that some houses are burnt, and right next door, they're not burnt. So the vagaries of the wind, perhaps the vegetation or the construction, all this combines together to make fires unpredictable, even though we're learning more and more about them, and that's why the loss of life is so limited. But what can you say? When you lose your house and your belongings and people lose their animals, it is a horror, and it's a horror we want to minimize, and when we can't minimize it, we want to recover from it as quickly as possible.
Governor, is there people who are maybe letting their guard down and saying this crisis is over, I can relax now?
What's that?
What do you say to people who are saying this crisis is over, I can let my guard down and relax now?
Well, you've heard our fire chief tell you these winds are still here. The humidity is very low, and who knows? So you have to listen to what people are saying, get the alerts on your cell phone, and be ready to go. That's what it is. And also, a longer term, I think we have to really think through how are we going to adjust ourselves to nature as it changes. We can't expect nature to adjust to our needs.
Governor, you talked about adjusting things. Given the fact we lost a couple hundred homes here, is it time perhaps for the state or for the counties to start implementing new standards for building codes for homes that are in the mountain brush zones or in the brush interface, so that when fires come sweeping in, they don't get under the eaves, hit the attics, and the house is totaled in 30 seconds?
Well, I think we ought to have a lot of information to every homeowner and potential homeowner on the best way to build or remodel. Secondly, yes, we need good building standards. I would just caution, though, I have in my office in Sacramento a box containing the current building code, and it's gotten bigger and bigger since the first time I was governor. It's good, we're getting more efficient, but when you say more building standards, I always want to say let's do this very carefully because it is complex. That does raise costs, so we have to protect. But I want to do it in the wisest way possible.
Governor, California obviously is known for being a climate leader and doing a lot in terms of climate change. Do you have any sense how much these fires are going to set back those efforts now?
Well, they're putting a lot of carbon pollution into the environment, in the air, and that will offset a lot of hard-won reductions that we're making in California. But remember, this is a global problem. We're talking about the entire planet and the atmospheric chemistry and its composition. And we're trying to do everything possible to make the atmosphere not absorb all these heat-trapping gases. So we have to do what we can, and that's one of the reasons why I've taken an international role here to join with other states and provinces to cut their greenhouse gases. Yes, it's a big problem, and that's why I want to see, are there ways that we can manage forests better? Are there ways that the U.S. government can manage its forests better? I think there are, and that's something I'm going to be looking at in the next few months, because I think there's more there, and we need to do it.
Governor Brown, it's no shock this has been a terrible fire season in Northern California and Southern California. How long for our state to really rebuild?
Well, this is the new normal, and this could be something that happens every year or every few years. I mean, it happens to some degree. It's just more intense, more widespread, and we're about ready to have firefighting at Christmas. This is very odd and unusual, but it is the way the world is with the kind of carbon pollution that we're not only living with, but we're generating still. It's still increasing. We have to make that turn. It's going to take heroic efforts. There are many places in this country that don't get it yet. There are several countries in the world that don't quite get it. So we're going to have to be good stewards of our own neighborhoods and state, but also missionaries to spread the word that we do need to make a change in the way we bolster our economy, not with fossil fuel, but with renewable energy.
One more question.
Yeah.
Last question. Governor, are you satisfied with the response you're getting from the federal government?
Well, so far so good. We have been getting response, but you know, when you look at it, Texas, Florida, Puerto Rico, now California, this is tens and tens of billions of dollars. We were talking last year about infrastructure and you know, all the money we're going to spend on roads and bridges in America. Well, now we just have to clean up the mess that nature is causing. So I hope the folks in Washington realize that as they're spending money, or helping others spend it by giving them various tax breaks. We need to invest in our firefighting capacity. We need to invest in our whole infrastructure as well as our energy and means of storage. So we got a big agenda. It's not a time to do less. It's a time to do more. And unfortunately, the politics is so divided that we have a lot of other things we're thinking about. But this is a topic. Fires, floods, earthquakes don't go away. So we got to handle the basics while we take care of other things that politicians like to deal with. And that's it. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Governor.
All right.
Well said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'm off to Paris to on the climate change. But I'll be back on Thursday.
Again, that was California Governor Jerry Brown. He was addressing the deadly wildfires you see there on your screen. We're going to continue to monitor the situation out in California. We'll have much more of the other day's news, including an interview with Jerry Brown with Bill Whitaker from 60 Minutes. You can watch it on Sunday right here on CBS, 7 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.